Men are moved by two levers only, fear and self-interest. Napoleon Bonaparte. Most are told that life is a game of checkers. Simple moves, predictable outcomes, easily mastered. They believe that being nice, playing fair, and waiting their turn will somehow guarantee victory. This is a lie, a comforting fable whispered to the naive. The truth is harsher, more intricate. Life is human chess. Each person you encounter is a piece on the board, each with their own agenda, their own strengths and weaknesses. To survive, to thrive, you must understand the rules of engagement, the subtle maneuvers, the cold calculus of power. The board is set. The game begins, whether you are ready or not. To play chess effectively, you must first dismantle the illusion of inherent goodness. People are not inherently kind or altruistic. They are driven by self-interest, by the primal urge to survive and advance. This isn't to say that kindness and altruism don't exist, but rather, they are often masks worn to conceal ulterior motives. Learn to see beneath the surface, to discern the true intentions behind the smiles and the platitudes. Observe patterns of behavior, track past actions, and analyze the potential gains for each player on the board. Do not be swayed by emotion. Sentimentality is a liability. It clouds judgment and makes you vulnerable to manipulation. View people as resources, as tools to be used in the pursuit of your goals. This may sound harsh, but it is the only way to navigate the treacherous landscape of human interaction. The first principle of human chess is observation. Before making any move, survey the entire board. Identify the key players, their positions, their potential threats. Understand their motivations, their fears, their desires. What are they trying to achieve? What are they willing to sacrifice? The more you know about your opponents, the better equipped you will be to anticipate their moves and counter their strategies. Pay close attention to nonverbal cues. Body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, these can reveal hidden truths that words often conceal. Learn to read between the lines, to decipher the unspoken messages that permeate every interaction. Cultivate a detached, analytical perspective. Observe without judgment, assess without emotion. Become a master of human observation. The second principle is calculated manipulation. Once you understand the motivations and vulnerabilities of your opponents, you can begin to influence their behavior. Manipulation is not necessarily evil. It is simply a tool, a means to an end. The key is to use it judiciously and ethically. Offer incentives that align with their self-interest. Create situations where they believe they are acting of their own volition, even though they are being guided by your hand. Use flattery and praise to inflate their ego, making them more receptive to your suggestions. Exploit their fears and insecurities to weaken their resolve. Plant seeds of doubt and discord among your rivals, disrupting their alliances and undermining their power. Remember, the goal is not to dominate or control others, but to influence their actions in a way that benefits you. Subtlety is key. The most effective manipulations are those that go unnoticed. The third principle is strategic foresight. In chess, you must always think several moves ahead. Anticipate the potential consequences of your actions and plan accordingly. What will your opponents do in response? How will your moves impact the overall game? Develop contingency plans for every scenario. Be prepared to adapt your strategy as the situation evolves. Don't be afraid to sacrifice a piece or two to gain a strategic advantage. Sometimes the greatest victories are achieved through calculated losses. Remember, the game is not about winning every battle, but about winning the war. Cultivate a long-term perspective. Focus on the ultimate objective, not the immediate gratification. The fourth principle is ruthless pragmatism. Sentimentality has no place in human chess. Be prepared to make difficult decisions, to sacrifice relationships, to betray trust. The game demands a certain level of ruthlessness. Do not hesitate to eliminate those who pose a threat to your goals. Do not be afraid to use deception and betrayal when necessary. But remember, every action has consequences. Weigh the risks and rewards carefully before making any move. Maintain a clear conscience. Do not allow guilt or remorse to cloud your judgment. The game demands a detached, pragmatic mindset. The final principle is continuous learning. Human chess is a complex and ever-evolving game. There is always more to learn, more to understand. Study the masters, analyze their strategies, and adapt their techniques to your own game. Observe the behavior of successful people, learn from their mistakes, and emulate their strengths. Be open to new ideas and perspectives. Be willing to challenge your own assumptions. The game demands a constant pursuit of knowledge and understanding. Never stop learning. Never stop growing. Never stop evolving. The sixth principle revolves around understanding and exploiting human weaknesses. Every individual possesses vulnerabilities, whether they stem from insecurities, desires, or blind spots. A skilled player in the game of human chess can identify these weaknesses and use them to their advantage. This does not necessarily imply malevolence, but rather a strategic awareness of human nature. Observe people carefully, pay attention to their patterns of behavior, listen to their anxieties, and note their aspirations. These observations provide valuable insights into their psychological makeup. Are they driven by a need for validation? Do they crave power or influence? Are they susceptible to flattery or manipulation? Once you understand their motivations and vulnerabilities, you can subtly influence their decisions and actions, guiding them towards your desired outcome. This requires empathy, but not sympathy. You must be able to understand their perspective without becoming emotionally invested in their plight. Maintain a detached objectivity, viewing them as pieces on a chessboard, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Exploit their desire for approval by offering carefully crafted compliments. Leverage their insecurities by subtly undermining their confidence. Appeal to their self-interest by offering them a mutually beneficial arrangement, even if the benefits are ultimately skewed in your favor. The key is to tailor your approach to the specific individual and their unique vulnerabilities. This is not about brute force or overt manipulation, but about subtle persuasion and strategic influence. The seventh principle emphasizes the importance of controlling the narrative. Perception is reality, and the ability to shape the perception of others is a potent weapon. Control the information that is available to them, frame events in a way that favors your interests, and cultivate a reputation that enhances your influence. This requires a multifaceted approach. First, manage your own image. Project an aura of competence, confidence, and integrity. Be deliberate in your actions and consistent in your messaging. Second, influence the flow of information. Be the source of trusted intelligence, disseminating carefully crafted narratives that support your objectives. Counteract opposing viewpoints by discrediting their sources or highlighting their flaws. Third, cultivate relationships with key influencers. Gain their trust and support, and use their platforms to amplify your message. This is not about lying or spreading misinformation, but about strategically framing the truth to achieve your desired outcome. Highlight the positive aspects of your actions while downplaying the negative. Emphasize the benefits to others while minimizing the costs to yourself. Control the narrative, and you control the game. The eighth principle is the art of calculated ambiguity. Sometimes, the most effective strategy is to remain enigmatic, leaving your intentions unclear and your opponents guessing. This creates uncertainty and doubt, forcing them to expend resources on trying to decipher your next move. It also allows you to adapt your strategy as the situation evolves, without being constrained by predetermined commitments. Speak in riddles and metaphors, offering multiple interpretations of your words. Avoid making definitive statements or revealing your true motivations. Keep your emotions in check, maintaining a poker face that betrays nothing. This does not mean being deceitful, but rather being strategically noncommittal. Offer hints and suggestions, but never reveal the full picture. Observe how your opponents react to your ambiguity, and use their reactions to gauge their understanding and anticipate their next move. Calculated ambiguity is a powerful tool for creating confusion and uncertainty, giving you a strategic advantage in the game of human chess. Let your opponents fill in the blanks, and they will inevitably fill them in with their own assumptions and biases, often to their own detriment. The ninth principle concerns the cultivation of patience and timing. Human chess is not a game of instant gratification. It requires patience, discipline, and a long-term perspective. Do not rush into action, but rather wait for the opportune moment to strike. Observe the situation carefully, analyze the movements of your opponents, and identify their weaknesses. Bide your time, accumulating resources and building alliances. When the moment is right, strike with swiftness and precision. This requires a keen sense of timing and an understanding of the rhythms of human interaction. Do not act prematurely, or you risk exposing yourself to unnecessary risks. Do not delay too long, or you risk losing the initiative. The key is to be patient and observant, waiting for the perfect moment to execute your plan. This also requires the ability to anticipate future events and plan accordingly. Think several moves ahead, considering the potential consequences of each action. Be prepared to adapt your strategy as the situation evolves, but always keep your long-term objectives in mind. Patience and timing are essential virtues in the game of human chess. The 10th, and perhaps most crucial principle, is the understanding of your own limitations. Self-awareness is the foundation of strategic mastery. Know your strengths, but more importantly, acknowledge your weaknesses. Understand your biases, your vulnerabilities, and your emotional triggers. Only then can you effectively compensate for your limitations and avoid being exploited by others. This requires rigorous self-reflection and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself. Seek feedback from trusted advisors, but be wary of those who simply flatter you or reinforce your existing beliefs. Cultivate a growth mindset, always seeking to improve your skills and overcome your weaknesses. Do not overestimate your abilities, or you risk overextending yourself and making costly mistakes. Do not underestimate your potential, or you risk selling yourself short and failing to achieve your full potential. Know yourself, and you will know your enemy. And knowing yourself is the first step towards mastering the game of human chess. Ultimately, the chessboard is a reflection of the internal landscape. Control yourself, and you begin to control the game. Consider the case of a rising executive in a fiercely competitive tech company, a world where innovation and ambition clash daily, and where careers are built and destroyed with equal ruthlessness. She understands the intricate power dynamics at play, the subtle alliances and simmering rivalries that define the corporate landscape. From the outset, her objective is clear: to ascend to the highest echelons of leadership, to wield significant influence over the company's strategic direction. But she recognizes that a direct assault on the established order would be suicidal. Instead, she adopts a more calculated approach, one that resembles a game of human chess. Her first move involves identifying key individuals who hold significant power but are also vulnerable in some way, perhaps due to past mistakes or internal conflicts. She subtly cultivates relationships with these individuals, offering support and assistance while discreetly gathering information about their weaknesses. She becomes a trusted confidant, a reliable ally, but always with a hidden agenda. Simultaneously, she begins to build a strong network of supporters within the company, identifying individuals who share her ambition and possess valuable skills. She mentors them, empowers them, and subtly aligns their interests with her own. She creates a loyal following, a silent army that will ultimately serve her purpose. As she consolidates her power base, she begins to subtly undermine her rivals. She does not engage in open confrontation or personal attacks. Instead, she uses information to her advantage, strategically leaking damaging details to the right people at the right time. She manipulates perceptions, framing her rivals as incompetent or untrustworthy, while subtly promoting her own image as a capable and decisive leader. She understands the importance of timing, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. When a major project is on the verge of failure, she steps in and offers a solution, showcasing her expertise and saving the company from embarrassment. This act of heroism elevates her status and further undermines her rivals, who are now seen as having failed to deliver. As she gains more influence, she begins to subtly reshape the company's culture to reflect her own values and priorities. She promotes innovation, encourages risk-taking, and rewards those who demonstrate loyalty and competence. She creates a new paradigm, one in which she is the natural leader. Throughout this entire process, she remains patient and disciplined, never allowing her emotions to cloud her judgment. She anticipates every move, plans several steps ahead, and adapts her strategy as the situation evolves. She understands that the game of human chess is a marathon, not a sprint, and that perseverance is essential for success. Her own limitations are also understood and accounted for, as she is aware of her tendencies toward impatience and her occasional struggles with delegation. Therefore, she surrounds herself with people who compensate for those weaknesses and make calculated decisions to curb those tendencies. Ultimately, she achieves her objective, ascending to the highest levels of leadership and wielding significant influence over the company's future. She does so not through brute force or ruthless ambition, but through strategic thinking, calculated manipulation, and a deep understanding of human psychology. She has mastered the game of human chess, and she has reaped the rewards. This victory is not celebrated with fanfare, but rather with the quiet satisfaction of a skilled strategist who has outmaneuvered her opponents. The game continues, but she now occupies a position of power, ready to face new challenges and defend her hard-earned territory. The trap springs when the less disciplined player, blinded by immediate desires, deviates from long-term strategy. It is in these moments of impulsive action that carefully laid plans unravel. Imagine a chess match where one player, eager to capture a seemingly vulnerable pawn, exposes their king to a devastating checkmate. This illustrates the folly of prioritizing short-term gains over strategic security. The weak player, consumed by envy or resentment, often seeks to undermine the position of their opponent through gossip or petty sabotage. Such actions, while providing temporary relief, ultimately reveal their own insecurity and lack of strategic depth. Instead of focusing on building their own power base, they waste their energy on tearing down others, a futile endeavor that only serves to solidify the position of their target. The ability to delay gratification is a critical component of success in the game of human chess. The weak player, lacking this discipline, is easily manipulated by those who offer immediate rewards or appeal to their base desires. They become pawns in a larger game, sacrificing their long-term interests for fleeting moments of pleasure or validation. The competent player, on the other hand, understands the importance of patience and restraint. They are willing to endure short-term discomfort or sacrifice immediate gains in order to achieve their long-term objectives. They recognize that true power comes not from instant gratification, but from the accumulation of resources, knowledge, and influence over time. Consider the example of a junior employee who, eager to impress their superiors, volunteers for every task and works tirelessly to meet deadlines. While their dedication may be admirable, their lack of strategic focus can lead to burnout and resentment. They become known as a reliable workhorse, but they fail to cultivate the skills and relationships necessary to advance in their career. They are trapped in a cycle of endless labor, never realizing their full potential. In contrast, the strategic employee carefully selects their battles, focusing on projects that align with their long-term goals and demonstrate their unique abilities. They are not afraid to delegate tasks or to say no to requests that do not serve their interests. They understand that their time and energy are finite resources, and they allocate them accordingly. The trap also manifests when individuals fail to accurately assess their own strengths and weaknesses. The arrogant player overestimates their abilities and takes on challenges that are beyond their reach. They stumble, they falter, and their missteps are exposed for all to witness. The insecure player, on the other hand, underestimates their potential and avoids taking risks. They remain hidden in the shadows, never realizing their true capabilities. The competent player cultivates a deep understanding of their own limitations and seeks to compensate for them through collaboration and strategic alliances. They surround themselves with people who possess complementary skills and expertise, creating a team that is greater than the sum of its parts. They recognize that true strength lies not in individual brilliance, but in the ability to leverage the talents of others. Furthermore, the weak player often falls into the trap of emotional reactivity. They allow their emotions to cloud their judgment and dictate their actions. They lash out in anger, they crumble under pressure, and they make decisions that they later regret. The stoic player, on the other hand, maintains a calm and detached demeanor, even in the face of adversity. They do not allow their emotions to control them, but rather use them as a source of information. They observe their feelings without judgment, and they make decisions based on reason and logic, not on impulse or emotion. The trap is sprung by a failure to adapt. The rigid player adheres stubbornly to their initial plan, even when the situation changes. They are unable to improvise, to adjust their strategy in response to new information. The agile player, in contrast, is flexible and adaptable. They are constantly monitoring the environment, anticipating potential threats and opportunities. They are willing to abandon their original plan if necessary, and to embrace new strategies that are more likely to succeed. The game of human chess demands a constant process of learning and adaptation. Those who fail to evolve are destined to be left behind. The landscape is ever shifting. The players are ever changing. Only those who master the art of strategic adaptation will prevail. The successful strategist views people as pieces on a grand chessboard, each with their own unique strengths, weaknesses, and potential moves. These pieces are not to be discarded lightly, but rather to be deployed with precision and foresight. The first step in this calculated game is assessment. A thorough understanding of each player's motivations, desires, and vulnerabilities is paramount. This involves careful observation, active listening, and a willingness to see beyond the surface. What are their ambitions? What are their fears? What are their blind spots? Only by answering these questions can you begin to anticipate their actions and manipulate their behavior. Consider the ambitious politician, driven by an insatiable hunger for power. Their weakness is their ego, their susceptibility to flattery and praise. By carefully crafting your words and actions, you can inflate their ego, leading them to make decisions that benefit your own agenda. Conversely, consider the insecure executive, plagued by self-doubt and fear of failure. Their weakness is their need for validation, their desire to be liked and respected. By offering them reassurance and support, you can gain their trust and influence their choices. The Machiavellian player understands that every individual has a price, whether it be money, power, status, or affection. The key is to identify that price and to be willing to pay it in order to achieve your desired outcome. This is not to say that you should engage in unethical or illegal behavior, but rather that you should be willing to negotiate, to compromise, and to make concessions in order to secure your objectives. Furthermore, the competent strategist understands the importance of creating alliances. No one can achieve true power alone. You must build a network of allies who are loyal, trustworthy, and capable. These allies should be chosen carefully, based on their skills, their resources, and their willingness to support your cause. However, it is crucial to remember that alliances are temporary and transactional. They should be maintained only as long as they serve your interests. When an alliance becomes a liability, it must be dissolved without hesitation. Sentimentality has no place in the game of human chess. The master player also recognizes the power of deception. Misdirection, misinformation, and outright lies can be valuable tools for manipulating your opponents and achieving your goals. However, deception should be used sparingly and with caution. Too much deception can erode trust and damage your reputation. It is important to be selective in your use of deception and to ensure that your lies are believable and difficult to detect. A subtle art is required to successfully mislead others without being caught.